So let's start with the 80-20 rule. So the 80-20 rule is 80%, generally speaking, of business comes from existing accounts.
Yeah.
And 20% comes from new business. Right. Does that apply for ITEL? So if 80% of the business is coming, of any business is coming from these existing accounts, that means there's a certain amount of account management you have to do. And the other reason accounts are very important is that if these customers are happy, right, then that means you get references.
Yeah.
You get case studies. Which then leads to new business. Okay? So, very important to have happy existing. Right, so what is account management? Account management is not just, renewing, which is what I would call when the customer comes to you and says, let's do another account, right? That's account management. That's the equivalent of renewing the products, right? They just come back and they go, give us some more of what you gave us before, right? What's important in existing accounts at all times when you deal with them is mining.
And what?
Right? Mining, right?
Mining.
Because think about a mine, right?
Like in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Into what?
Well, into the account. Okay, think of an account as a mine. There's gold in there.
Okay.
But it doesn't just come out by itself.
Oh, like
you've got to go digging,
like
you've got to go mining.
Layers.
Yeah, and you've got to knock at the rocks. Right, this is just, renewing is just like, that's stuff that's like gold that falls off the walls, right?
That's gorgeous.
So you just walk by and
that's the best part.
Right? That's great. But there's also a lot of business that can be mined out of existing accounts. And I mean, it depends on the style, the kind of business you're in. But I think ITEL is in a good position to do mining, because you're working. If you're working with companies that are large enough to have multiple marketing managers across different verticals, different divisions, different states, then mining is really important because, like we said, it's 80-20, right?
Yeah.
You've already got references in the company. Right? So when you call them up, it's not a cold call. It's like, hey, we've been talking to blah, 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 the marketing manager. They've probably met. They've probably been to a conference. So mining that can be quite lucrative, the existing accounts. And that's why in any company, account management is not seen as a necessary evil. You don't take a person that's not quota carrying in an account. Right? Because that makes sense. If 80% of my business is coming out of existing accounts, some of it will be renewing. Maybe renewing is like, generally speaking, renewing is going to be a lot, right? Of that 80, maybe 80% is renewing. And it could be zero, actually. It depends on the effort you put in. The problem is if you put a salesperson, right, that has quota targets, then they are going to, an account manager, right? You put an account manager who's quota carrying, right? They're obviously going to mine this because that's steady, right? They don't necessarily get quoted on that, but mining new business, they'll actually actively go. If you just get a non-quota carrying account manager, which is not really an account manager, it's more like a relationship manager. That's what I would call it. Then why do they care? They're not going to go mining. That's too much hard work. They just sit there, go, yeah, renew, we love you, etc. And that's why in a lot of sales businesses, account managers are almost always they're the same as sales guys. They have quotas they must reach within an existing business, and that's how they reach it. They do the mining. And okay, look, you can always have a mix. You can have a mix of account management and a mix of BDM, like new business development. But generally speaking, in companies that have simply because of the 80-20 rule.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that if it's of a certain size, you can always mine new business, right? You know, what's the art of account management, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the account management is getting the renewals and in mining. So how do you do it? There's a few principles, and there's no course that gives you this. This is just what I learned from the sales guys I worked with.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the part where you get into the course where it's like it's more principles than science.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So one of the things I learned was the pain. Feel their pain, I should say. Right, because you're an account manager, you get a lot of one-on-one contact with the person that's in there, like the people in those accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So when you feel their pain, and that could mean anything, right? That could be you go to the meetings where it's painful to go to. You know, when they're in a particular situation where it's not going well for them, you're there supporting them. So you're feeling the pain of the account.
Thank you.
And this may not apply. I don't know what ITEL accounts are like. So if some of this you just go, oh, that's not really us, that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah.
So feel their pain. That means you earn the right. You earn the right to do these things, mining and renewals, right?
Okay.
Because once you've earned that pain, you've been there, you've been to those meetings, you've met all the people, you understand their pain, you feel it yourself. That's when you earn the right to ask for the order, to talk to other people in the organisation, to get that renewal, to go, hey, look, I've been helping you, I'm feeling your pain, right? I've been there with you through thick and thin. Now it's time to come back. Now it's time to help me out.
Yeah.
I need this deal this quarter rather than next quarter. Help me out here, right? And the only way you do that is when you feel their pain. If you built up a history with them, they're like, okay, all right, yeah, you've definitely been there. You felt my pain. You've earned the right.
Yeah.
Earn the right. Okay, what else is there?
Won't they feel like you're putting on the pressure?
No. That's what I'm trying to say. If you try to put the pressure on before you've earned the right,
then it's like
then it's no good, right? Because you haven't earned the right.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what you should always ask yourself. Have you earned the right to ask for the order, to ask for a favour, to ask for something? If you haven't, then you need to feel their pain more. Right? And sometimes feeling their pain is like, okay, here's an example of feeling their pain. When I was working for an account, dealt with electricity, feeling their pain meant that I would go every week to their top 10 issues meeting. It was a very low level meeting, right? It was all about the top 10 issues they were having with our software. So I'd sit on that meeting week in, week out, just listening to the pain, right?
Yeah.
Listening to the pain. And basically, because I couldn't fix it, right? I couldn't fix it. Because in our organization, their version of the software was very low priority to be fixed. So all I did is I sat there and I felt their pain. At the beginning, they hated me, right? Because they wanted me to fix things, they hated me, didn't like me. But the funny thing is, the more you go to these meetings, after a while, it's like, hey, Fab, how you doing? Yeah. Because they feel like, okay, well, this guy has been feeling our pain with us all the time. And it's funny because no matter how much you hate someone, the more time you spend with them, I'm talking in a business context, right? A business context. I'm not talking about personal.
No, business is
in a business context. You might hate someone initially, but the more time you spend with them, after a while, it just becomes familiar, right? It becomes familiar. It's like a bad relationship.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hate it, but it's familiar. It's safe. It's familiar, and you stay in it. Same thing, right? Why? Because you feel their pain. You're there at all those times. You're there when it goes well. Okay, so the other principle is what I call Huff and Puff, right?
Okay.
That's what you said, but I'm thinking, did you really say that? Did I say it right?
Huff and Puff.
I'm hearing it.
So this is to do with feeling their pain, right? This is more like relationship building. This one is more, I would call it negotiation. Right, Huff and Puff. What is Huff and Puff? That's when a client rocks up at 5:15 at the door and goes,
Priyanka.
Melina, I need you to do this.
Yesterday.
Really, really urgent.
Last year.
And you go, look, Priyanka, it's a really busy time for me. I've got a lot of important campaigns. Look, I'm happy to help you out, but you've got to do something for me now, right? It's huff and puff. It's when someone asks you something, you basically go, oh God, you're asking for a lot. You're going to do it, right? You know you're going to do it.
But it's negotiating.
But you build it up. You make it. You tell them all the reasons why you can't do it, why this is not the right time. But you do it. Like, you've already decided, okay, I'm going to do it. Right? It's an important customer.
Exactly.
I'm going to do it. But build it up. Make it into a favour. Right? So, you know, make it into a favour.
Just give it away like that, man.
There's no giving away. Especially when you do things out of the ordinary, you have to say, look, you've got to give her all the reasons why you can't do it. And then you go, okay, look, of course I'll help you, but I need you to help me too. That's what Huff and Puff is. Huff and Puff is like, you never just say yes. Someone comes and asks you from an account, can you do like, it doesn't matter what it is, right? If it's an existing account, obviously if it's like, oh, can you give me a contract to sign? Oh, no, I can't do that. No, of course, right? But if it's a favour you're doing for them,